Jiho Kim stared at the warning lights flashing red across his control panel. As commander of Research Station Kepler 442, he had seen many dangerous situations, but nothing like this. The massive ships approaching his station looked like they were made from living metal. They moved in ways that made his stomach feel sick. "Sir, we have 12 unknown vessels coming toward us," said Communications Officer Soman Park. Her voice shook as she spoke. "They are not responding to our messages." Jiho looked out the main window of his command center. The gas giant Kepler 442b filled half the view with its orange and red clouds. His mining station had been here for 3 years, pulling rare metals. From the planet's rings, it was quiet work, boring work. Until today. "Raise our shields," Jiho ordered. "All workers back to the station, now." The mining ships outside began flying back to the station as fast as they could. But Jiho knew they would not make it in time. The strange ships were moving too fast. They looked like giant insects made of dark metal. Long, thin parts stuck out from their sides. Green lights pulsed along their bodies like heartbeats. Defense Officer Kyung Lee ran to his station. "Sir, our scanners cannot read these ships properly. They seem to bend around our energy beams." One of the alien ships fired something at the station. It was not a laser or missile. It looked like living darkness that moved through space like smoke. When it hit their shields, the entire station shook. Red warning lights flashed everywhere. "Shields down to 60% from one hit," Kyung reported. His face was pale. "Sir, our weapons are not working right. The energy beams just disappear when they hit those ships." Jiho felt cold fear in his chest. In all his years as a station commander, he had never seen weapons that could eat energy like this. He pressed the emergency button on his chair. "All hands, this is Commander Kim. We are under attack by unknown forces. Move to emergency stations. This is not a drill." Through the station's speakers, he could hear people running in the hallways. Some were screaming. The alien ships were getting closer. Up close, they looked even more terrible. Their surface moved like living skin. Parts of them opened and closed like mouths. "Sir, I am getting readings from inside those ships," said Science Officer Min-Soo Han. His hands shook as he worked at his controls. "There are life forms in there, but they are wrong. The computer cannot identify what they are." Another blast hit the station. This time 3 ships fired at once. The shields failed completely. The lights went out for a few seconds, then came back dim and red. "Salmon, send a distress signal to Earth Command," Jiho ordered. "Tell them we are under attack by unknown alien forces. Send all the information we have about these ships." Salmon's fingers flew over her keyboard. "Sir, they are blocking our long-range communications. But I can try to send a burst transmission. It might get through." The alien ships surrounded the station now. Jiho could see movement inside them through what looked like windows. But the shapes inside did not look like any alien species he knew about. They moved like liquid metal with too many arms. "Sir, they are attaching something to our hull," Kyung reported. "Section 7 near the mining docks." On the security screens, Jiho watched as the alien ships pushed long tubes against his station. The tubes began cutting through the metal walls like they were made of paper. Green gas started flowing through the holes. "That gas is poisonous," Min-Soo said, looking at his readings. "Anyone who breathes it will die in minutes." Jiho made the hardest decision of his life. "Seal off Section 7. Lock down all blast doors. Do it now." He knew there were 20 people working in Section 7. Good people, people with families back on Earth. But if he did not seal that section, the gas would kill everyone on the station. The blast doors slammed shut. On his screen, Jiho watched the workers in Section 7 bang on the doors trying to escape. Then the green gas reached them. They fell down and stopped moving. "Sir, the burst transmission is ready," Somin said. Tears ran down her face. "Should I send it?" "Send it now." The message shot out into space in a tight beam aimed at Earth. It contained everything they knew about the attackers. Their ship designs, their weapons, the strange way they absorbed energy. It was their only hope that someone would learn from their deaths. More alien ships were attaching to the station now. The creatures inside began cutting through the walls in different places. Jiho could hear the metal being torn apart. The sound was like screaming. "Sir, they are not just trying to destroy us," Minsu said, looking at his readings. "They are harvesting something from the station, from us." On the security cameras, Jiho saw the alien creatures for the first time. They looked like a mix of machine and living thing. Their bodies were covered in dark metal, but underneath he could see muscle and bone. They had too many arms and legs. Their faces were hidden behind masks that glowed green. The creatures moved through the station like they owned it. They carried strange tools that could cut through anything. When they found station workers, they did not just kill them. They did something worse. They attached tubes to the workers and began draining something from their bodies. "They are taking our life energy," Minsu whispered. "The readings show they are literally sucking the life out of people." Jiho felt sick. These were not just aliens trying to destroy them. These were something much worse. Something that fed on living beings. "Sir, more ships are coming," Soman reported. "Hundreds of them. They are heading toward the inner systems, toward the colonies." Through his window, Jiho could see a massive fleet of the alien ships moving past his station. There were so many that they blocked out the stars. Each ship was full of the creatures that fed on life itself. The station shook again. The alien creatures were getting closer to the command center. Jiho could hear them cutting through the walls, just outside. "Soman, send one more message," Jiho said. "Tell Earth Command that this is not just an attack on one station. This is an invasion. These creatures want to destroy everything living in the galaxy." Soman sent the final message just as the command center door exploded inward. The alien creatures flowed into the room like liquid shadow. Up close, they were even more horrible. Their green eyes glowed with hunger. Jiho drew his sidearm and fired. The bullets hit the creatures but just bounced off their metal skin. They moved toward him, making sounds like grinding metal mixed with animal growls. The last thing Jiho Kim saw was one of the creatures reaching toward him with a tube that glowed with stolen life energy. Then everything went dark. Research Station Kepler 442 went silent. But its final messages were already racing through space toward Earth, carrying a warning that would change everything. Something terrible was coming for the galaxy. Something that ate life itself. And somewhere in the Sol system, those messages were about to reach people who had been preparing for exactly this kind of threat. Captain Sungjae Park watched his tactical display as the human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. What he saw made his blood run cold. The peaceful Zenthari homeworld was under attack. Dozens of Vorthak ships swarmed around the planet like angry insects. "Sir, we are receiving distress calls from the planet's surface," reported Communications Officer Dayun Kim. "The Zenthari are asking for help." Captain Park did not hesitate. "All ships, battle formation, prepare to engage the enemy." "Sir," said his tactical officer, Lieutenant Wu Jin Seo, "should we not contact the Galactic Council first? There are protocols for this situation." "The protocols can wait," Captain Park replied. "People are dying down there." This decision shocked the alien observers on his ship. Ambassador Veltar of the Zenthari could not believe what he was hearing. In galactic civilization, military action always required approval from the Council. No species had ever acted this quickly. "Captain Park," the ambassador said, "this is highly irregular. You cannot just attack without diplomatic authorization." Captain Park turned to look at the alien diplomat. "Ambassador, with respect, I do not need permission to defend innocent people." The human fleet moved into attack formation. 60 ships, spread out in a pattern that confused the Vorthak. Most galactic species attacked in straight lines or simple formations. The humans moved like they were hunting. "Sir, the Vorthak ships are turning toward us," Lieutenant Seo reported. "They are abandoning their attack on the planet." "Good," Captain Park said. "That means fewer civilians die." The Vorthak ships moved fast, just like the reports had said. They flowed through space like living things, their biomechanical hulls pulsing with green light. As they got closer, the humans could see the terrible beauty of their design. They looked like deep-sea creatures made of metal and flesh. "All ships, weapons free," Captain Park ordered. "Target their largest ships first." The human ships opened fire, but not with energy weapons. Instead, they used railguns that fired metal slugs at incredible speeds. The Vorthak ships tried to absorb the attacks like they had done with energy weapons, but solid metal could not be absorbed. The first railgun slug punched through a Vorthak ship like it was made of paper. Green fluid spurted from the hole as the ship began to spin out of control. "Direct hit," Lieutenant Co shouted. "Their armor cannot stop our kinetic weapons." The Vorthak responded by firing their energy-draining weapons at the human ships. But the human shields were different from what other species used. Instead of pure energy, they used electromagnetic fields that deflected the Vorthak attacks. "Sir, their weapons are not working against our shields," reported Chief Engineer Youngsu. "Kang, our electromagnetic deflectors are scattering their energy beams." Captain Park smiled grimly. Dr. Nam knew what he was doing when he designed our defenses. The battle became fierce. Vorthak ships swarmed around the human fleet, trying to use their superior numbers. But the humans fought like no species the Vorthak had ever encountered. Instead of staying in formation and trading long-range shots, the human ships moved constantly, making themselves hard to hit. "Sir, 3 Vorthak ships are trying to board the destroyer Busan," reported Lieutenant Seo. "Tell Captain Yoon that." "Sergeant Lee's boarding teams are ready," Captain Park replied. On the destroyer Busan, Captain Jaemin Yoon watched as Vorthak ships attached themselves to his hull. Long tubes began cutting through his armor, just like they had done at Station Kepler 442. "Sergeant Lee, they are coming through Deck 7, Captain Yoon announced over the ship's communication system. Sergeant Jiwon Lee and her team were waiting. They wore the new Aegis combat armor and carried weapons designed for fighting inside spaceships. As the first Vorthak creatures broke through the hull, they met something they had never seen before. The humans opened fire with assault rifles loaded with explosive bullets. The Vorthak creatures, expecting energy weapons, had no defense against solid projectiles moving at high speed. The bullets tore through their biomechanical armor like it was cloth. "Contact front," Sergeant Lee shouted. "Engaging hostile boarders." The Vorthak creatures were terrifying up close. They moved on too. Many legs, their bodies covered in living metal that flexed like muscle. Green fluid dripped from their weapons, but they had never fought humans in close combat before. Private Kyungmin Park threw a grenade down the corridor where more Vorthak were coming through. The explosion sent green fluid and metal pieces flying. The creatures that survived the blast were wounded and confused. "They do not know how to fight against explosives," Sergeant Lee observed. "Keep using grenades." Meanwhile, on the command ship Seoul, engineer Mina Zhang was trying to disrupt the Vorthak communications. She had modified the ship's electronic systems to send out signals that interfered with hive mind connections. "Dr. Kim," she called to the ship's science officer, "I am detecting their communication frequency. It is unlike anything we have seen before." Dr. Kyung-ho Kim looked at the readings on his screen. "It looks like they share thoughts directly. No individual decision-making. If we can disrupt this signal, the entire fleet will lose coordination," Mina finished. "Give me 30 seconds." She activated the neural disruptor array. Invisible electronic signals shot out from the human fleet toward the Vorthak ships. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, the Vorthak formation began to fall apart. "Sir, the enemy ships are breaking formation," Lieutenant Seo reported, with excitement. They seemed confused. Captain Park watched as the disciplined Vorthak swarm became a disorganized mob. Ships collided with each other. Some stopped moving entirely. Others began firing at their own allies. "All ships, press the attack while they are confused," Captain Park ordered. The human fleet moved in for the kill. Railguns fired continuously, punching holes in Vorthak ships that could no longer coordinate their defenses. Nuclear missiles streaked through space, exploding against hulls that had been weakened by the communication disruption. On the Busan, Sergeant Lee's team had cleared their ship of boarders. The Vorthak creatures lay dead in the corridors, their green blood mixing with pieces of their biomechanical armor. "Sir, all boarders eliminated," Sergeant Lee reported to Captain Yoon. "These things do not know how to fight against kinetic weapons and explosives." "Understood, Sergeant." Excellent work. The battle lasted only 2 hours. When it was over, every single Vorthak ship had been destroyed. Not one human ship was lost, and only a few soldiers had been wounded in the boarding actions. Captain Park looked at the tactical display showing debris where the Vorthak fleet had been. He could hardly believe it. These creatures had destroyed every other military force they had encountered, but they had been completely defeated by human tactics and weapons. "Sir, we are receiving transmissions from the Zenthari planet," Daiyun reported. "They are calling us heroes. They want to broadcast the battle footage across the galaxy." Ambassador Veltar stood on the bridge, staring at the human crew with a mix of amazement and fear. "Captain Park, what you have done today it should have been impossible. The Vorthak destroyed 3 galactic defense fleets." "Ambassador," Captain Park replied calmly, "those fleets used energy weapons and predictable tactics. The Vorthak were ready for that kind of warfare. But not for yours," the ambassador whispered. Dr. Kim reviewed the sensor data from the battle. "Captain, I am detecting something interesting. The Vorthak ships contain technology we have never seen before, and there is evidence of other species aboard those ships." "Other species?" "Dead species," Dr. Kim clarified. "The Vorthak had been using the life energy of conquered peoples to power their ships." Captain Park felt sick. These creatures were not just invaders. They were parasites that consumed entire civilizations. "Send all battle data to Earth Command," he ordered, "and prepare to jump to the next system. If there are more Vorthak fleets out there, we need to find them before they reach populated areas." As the human fleet prepared to continue their hunt, the news of their victory spread across the galaxy. For the first time, someone had defeated the Vorthak completely. But the victory raised as many questions as it answered. How had humans developed such effective weapons and tactics? Why were they so prepared for this type of threat? And most frightening of all for some species, what else were humans capable of? The galaxy was about to learn that Earth had been preparing for threats like the Vorthak for a very long time, and humans were very, very good at war. Fleet Admiral Dong-Yun Choi sat in his office on Luna Base, reading the distress signals from station Kepler 442 for the 5th time. Each time he read them, he felt more worried. The reports described something that should not exist. Ships that ate energy weapons, creatures that drained life from living beings. "Sir, the emergency council is ready," said his aide, Lieutenant Sun Ho Park. Dong-Yun walked into the secure meeting room deep inside Luna Base. Around the table sat the most important people in Earth's military. These were people who had spent years preparing for the worst things that could happen to humanity. "Ladies and gentlemen," Dong-Yun began, "we have a Code Black situation." Everyone in the room became very still. Code Black meant the possible end of human civilization. It was the worst rating they had. Captain Yoonji Han was the first to speak. She commanded the experimental ship Indomitable, the most advanced warship Earth had ever built. "Sir, I have read the reports. These Vorthak creatures are unlike anything we have faced before." "That is correct," said Dr. Woo Sung Nam, head of Earth's secret weapons research. "But we have been preparing for exactly this type of threat. Project UA. Prometheus is ready." General Hijin Yu leaned forward. She was in charge of Earth's special forces. "What do we know about their tactics?" Dong-Yun activated the holographic display. Images of the Vorthak ships appeared in the air above the table. They absorb energy weapons. Their ships are part living, part machine. They move in swarms and seem to share information instantly. "Classic hive mind behavior," Dr. Nam said. "But that gives us an advantage. Hive minds have weaknesses." "Commander," Minho Kang, Earth's best naval strategist, studied the images. "Their ships look fast, but they move in predictable patterns. They expect their enemies to use energy weapons. They are not prepared for kinetic warfare." "Kinetic warfare?" asked Captain Han. "Bullets, missiles, railguns," General Yu explained. "Old-fashioned weapons that actually hit things instead of just sending energy." Dr. Nam smiled for the first time since the meeting began. "The galaxy moved to energy weapons centuries ago. They think kinetic weapons are primitive, but primitive weapons still work. Dongyun looked around the table. How fast can we mobilize a response fleet? Give me 48 hours, Commander Kang said. I can have 60 ships ready to go, not our newest ships, but our most reliable ones. Make it 36 hours, Dongyun ordered. Every hour we wait, more people die. Dr. Nam stood up. Sir, with your permission, I would like to brief the team on our special equipment. Dongyun nodded. Dr. Nam activated another holographic display. This one showed weapons and armor that looked different from anything used by other species in the galaxy. This is the Aegis combat armor, Dr. Nam explained. It is designed specifically for boarding enemy ships. The armor can protect against energy weapons, biological attacks, and radiation. But most importantly, it makes our soldiers stronger and faster. Lieutenant Hyejin Yu, the general's daughter and a special forces officer, raised her hand. What about weapons, sir? Each suit comes with a full combat load, Dr. Nam continued. Assault rifles, grenades, breaching charges, and something special. These. He showed them a new type of bullet. Depleted uranium rounds with explosive tips. They can punch through almost any armor. Captain Han looked impressed. What about ship weapons? Our ships carry railguns that fire solid metal slugs at incredible speeds, Commander Kang explained. We also have missile systems with nuclear warheads, and something new, EMP bombs that can shut down electronic systems. The other species in the galaxy think we are primitive because we still use these weapons, General Yu said. They do not understand that primitive weapons work. Dr. Nam brought up another display. We have also developed something called the neural disruptor. It sends out electronic signals that can interfere with hive mind communications. Dongyun felt hope for the first time since reading the distress signals. How do we know it will work? We tested it on captured Zeltron hive insects last year, Dr. Nam replied. When we disrupted their communications, they became confused and stopped working together. The meeting continued for 3 more hours. They planned every detail of the response. Which ships to send, which weapons to use, which routes to take through space. By the end, they had a complete battle plan. One more thing, Dongyun said as the meeting ended. This information is classified at the highest level. The other species in the galaxy do not know about our real military capabilities. We want to keep it that way. Captain Han looked confused. Why, sir? Because if they knew what we were really capable of, they would be afraid of us instead of the Vorthak, General Yu explained. Over the next 36 hours, Earth's military moved faster than it ever had before. Ships launched from Luna Base, Mars orbital stations, and the asteroid belt mining platforms. Soldiers in Aegis armor boarded transport ships. Weapons that had been kept secret for years were loaded onto warships. Lieutenant Jiwan Li led one of the Special Forces teams boarding the assault ship Retribution. Her team was trained for ship-to-ship combat. They carried weapons designed to work in the vacuum of space and inside alien ships. Remember, she told her team, these creatures expect energy weapons. They are not ready for bullets and explosives. Use that advantage. Engineer Mina Jiang worked on the command ship Sol, modifying the electronic warfare systems. Her job was to disrupt the Vorthak hive mind communications during battle. I have never worked with signals like this before, she told her assistant. But if Dr. Nam is right, this could stop them from working together. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Han received her final orders from Admiral Choi. You are authorized to use any weapons necessary to stop these creatures. Do not worry about galactic treaties. Humanity's survival is more important. Understood, sir, Captain Han replied. We will not let them reach Earth. The human fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading for the outer systems where the Vorthak had been spotted. The ships moved in formation, ready for a type of warfare the galaxy had not seen in centuries. On Earth, people went about their daily lives without knowing that their entire species was in danger. The government had decided not to tell the public until they knew more. But in secret military bases around the solar system, every weapon was ready. Every soldier was prepared. Dr. Nam stood in his laboratory, looking at the data from the Vorthak attack. These creatures think they are the ultimate predators, he said to his assistant. They have never faced humans in a real fight. Admiral Choi watched the fleet disappear into faster-than-light space from his office on Luna Base. He thought about the words of an ancient human general. No plan survives contact with the enemy. But he also thought about something else. For thousands of years, humans had been preparing for threats like this. They had built weapons, trained soldiers, and planned for the worst possible situations. Other species had grown comfortable and soft. They relied on energy weapons and diplomacy. Humans had never forgotten that sometimes survival required violence. The fleet raced through space toward its first battle with an enemy that had destroyed every other species it encountered. But this time, the Vorthak were about to face something they had never seen before. They were about to face humans at war. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been going on for 6 hours. Representatives from across the galaxy argued about what to do with the approaching Vorthak fleet. Some wanted to negotiate. Others suggested hiding on distant worlds. A few even proposed surrendering to avoid total destruction. Ambassador Chaewon Park sat quietly at the human delegation table, waiting. She had learned long ago that aliens liked to talk before making decisions. Humans preferred to act first, and explain later. Ambassador Park, called Council Leader Zarthon. The Council requires more information about human military capabilities before we can approve your plan. Ambassador Park stood up slowly. She was a diplomat, trained to be calm and patient. But she was also human, and humans had limits to their patience. Council Leader, with respect, you do not understand the situation, she said. You are not being asked to approve our plan. You are being informed that we will execute it. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. No species had ever spoken to the Council this way. Representatives demanded explanations, threatened sanctions, and accused humans of militaristic aggression. Ambassador Park waited for the noise to die down, then continued speaking. Since achieving interstellar travel, humanity has identified 847 different threats that could end all life in the galaxy. We have spent 2 centuries preparing responses to each one. The Vorthak invasion is Scenario 23. She activated a holographic display that filled the chamber with images of human military installations, weapon systems, and battle fleets that most aliens had never seen before. We have been monitoring, analyzing, and preparing for threats. While you debated trade agreements, she continued, when the Vorthak appeared, we were ready. Representative Volnara of the Vegan Federation stood up angrily. You have been spying on us, building secret weapons. This is exactly the kind of behavior the treaties are meant to prevent. The treaties assume the survival of galactic civilization, Ambassador Park replied without emotion. Dead civilizations do not need treaties. General Jinwoo Kim stepped forward from the human delegation. He was a large man who looked like he had spent his life preparing for war. Because he had. Representatives, he said. Let me show you what humans do to species-ending threats. The holographic display changed to show a human dreadnought floating in space. It was larger than any warship the other species had ever built, covered in weapons that looked both primitive and terrifying. This is the battlecruiser Soul's Revenge, General Kim explained. It carries something we call the Hellfire Protocol. Ambassador Park pressed a button on her control device. In the holographic display, the human warship fired a single weapon at a nearby moon. The moon simply disappeared. One moment it was there. The next moment, there was nothing but glowing particles of dust. The council chamber fell completely silent. That moon had been infected with Vorthak biostructures, General Kim continued calmly. It took 0.3 seconds to completely sterilize it. Council Leader Zarthon's voice shook when he spoke. What kind of weapon can destroy an entire moon? A weapon that violates 17 galactic treaties, Ambassador Park replied. But then again, so do the Vorthak. She activated another display showing human fleets throughout the galaxy. There were far more ships than any other species had realized existed. For the past month, human forces have been systematically hunting down every Vorthak presence in the galaxy. We estimate the task will be complete in 18 days. Representative Theklan of the Rigel Union spoke up nervously. 18 days? But there are thousands of Vorthak ships spread across hundreds of systems. 19 days ago there were, General Kim corrected. As of this morning, there are fewer than 3,000 Vorthak ships remaining. All of them are converging on this system. Admiral Minji Song stepped forward. She commanded the human space fleet and had been planning this operation for weeks. Council leader, she said. In 12 hours, the surviving Vorthak fleet will arrive at Nexus Prime. They will attempt to consume the Architect ruins and use that technology to drain every living world in the galaxy. And what do you propose to do? Council leader Zarthon asked. We propose to end the Vorthak species, Admiral Song replied simply. She activated the tactical display showing the space around Nexus Prime. Human ships were positioned throughout the system in a formation that looked like a giant spider web. We have 127 capital ships, 340 destroyers, and 89 specialized combat vessels waiting for them, Admiral Song explained. Each ship carries weapons designed specifically to kill Vorthak. But they have 3,000 ships. Representative Volnara protested. Numbers are not everything, General Kim said. The Vorthak expect galactic standard warfare. Energy weapons, predictable tactics, diplomatic delays, they are not prepared for human warfare. Captain Taman entered the chamber at that moment. He commanded the Human Intelligence Service and had been tracking Vorthak movements for months. Admiral Song, the Vorthak fleet has just entered the outer system, he reported. All ships are at battle stations. The representatives in the council chamber looked terrified. Some tried to leave, but Admiral Song raised her hand. Representatives, you wanted to see human capabilities, she said. Now you will. She activated the main display to show a live view of space around Nexus Prime. In the distance, the Vorthak fleet appeared as a dark cloud of biomechanical ships. There were so many that they blocked out the stars. Admiral Song to all human vessels. She spoke into her communication device. Execute Hellfire Protocol, eliminate all hostiles. What happened next would be remembered in galactic history as the day the universe learned what humans were truly capable of. The human ships did not wait for the Vorthak to get close. They opened fire from maximum range with weapons that should not have been able to reach so far. Streams of metal slugs fired from railguns crossed millions of kilometers of space in seconds. The first wave of railgun fire punched through dozens of Vorthak ships before they could react. Green fluid and biomechanical debris scattered across space. Sir, their hive mind communications are being disrupted, reported Captain O. The neural disruptors are working perfectly. Without their shared consciousness, the Vorthak fleet lost all coordination. Ships collided with each other, fired at their own allies, and flew in random directions. All ships, press the attack, Admiral Song ordered. Nuclear missiles streaked through space toward the confused Vorthak fleet. Each explosion vaporized multiple ships, sending shockwaves through the biomechanical hulls of nearby vessels. The representatives in the council chamber watched in stunned silence as humanity destroyed in minutes what had taken centuries to build. The Vorthak had conquered hundreds of worlds, consumed billions of lives, and seemed unstoppable. Against human weapons and tactics, they lasted 17 minutes. Admiral Song, this is Captain Park aboard the destroyer Incheon, came a voice over the communication system. All hostile contacts eliminated. Repeat, all hostiles eliminated. Admiral Song looked at the tactical display. Where moments before there had been 3,000 Vorthak ships, now there was only glowing debris and empty space. Confirmed, Captain. All Vorthak forces destroyed. Stand down from combat alert. She turned to face the alien representatives, most of whom looked like they might be sick. Council leader, she said calmly. The Vorthak threat has been eliminated. You may resume normal galactic operations. Council leader Zarthon stared at her with a mixture of gratitude and terror. Ambassador Park, how long have humans been capable of this level of warfare? Since the day we achieved interstellar travel. Ambassador Park replied. We told you. We have been preparing for 847 different extinction scenarios. This was just one of them. Representative Volnara's voice was barely a whisper. What are the other 846 scenarios? Ambassador Park smiled, but it was not a comforting expression. Let us hope you never have to find out. In the days that followed, the galaxy struggled to understand what had happened. Humanity had revealed military capabilities that exceeded those of every other species combined. They had weapons that violated treaties everyone thought were universal laws. They had been preparing for threats that other species could not even imagine. Captain O delivered his final report to Earth Command 18 days later. Admiral Choi, this is Captain O reporting. Operation Clean Sweep is complete. Total Vorthak. Casualties. Approximately 847,000 ships and an estimated 200 billion individual creatures. Human casualties 23 wounded, 0 killed. The Vorthak species has been completely eliminated from the galaxy. Admiral Donghyun Choi read the report with satisfaction. Humanity had done what it always did when faced with extinction-level threats. They had prepared, they had acted decisively, and they had won completely. But across the galaxy, other species were asking new questions. If humans could eliminate the Vorthak so easily, what else could they do? How many other weapons did they have hidden? How many other scenarios had they prepared for? Most importantly, were humans protectors of galactic civilization or its greatest threat? Time would tell. But one thing was certain. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. The species that had once been dismissed as primitive and emotional had proven to be the most dangerous predators the universe had ever seen. News of the human victory at the Zenthari homeworld spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. On every civilized world, beings watched the battle recordings with amazement and growing fear. The humans had destroyed an entire Vorthak fleet without losing a single ship. Admiral Sang-Hoon Yoon stood in the command center of the orbital station above Earth, coordinating what humans called Operation Clean Sweep. His job was to hunt down every remaining Vorthak force in the galaxy before they could attack more worlds. Sir, we are receiving intelligence reports from 17 different star systems, reported Intelligence Officer Na-Young Lee. The Vorthak have been more active than we thought. Admiral Yoon studied the holographic map of the galaxy. Red dots showed confirmed Vorthak sightings. Yellow dots showed possible locations. There were too many to count. How long have they been operating? He asked. At least 2 years, sir, Officer Lee replied. They have been quietly taking over systems on the outer rim. The galactic government did not notice because those areas are not well monitored. Captain Da-Hyun Ko entered the command center. She commanded the deep space reconnaissance ship Shadowhunter, designed for long-range scouting missions behind enemy lines. Admiral, I have completed my survey of the Kepler sector, she reported. What we found there is worse than we expected. Admiral Yoon activated the secure briefing room. Inside, Captain Ko showed him recordings that made his blood run cold. Entire star systems had been turned into Vorthak breeding facilities. Planets that once held billions of people were now covered in biomechanical structures that pulsed with stolen life energy. Sir, this is not just an invasion, Captain Ko explained. This is systematic consumption of all life in the galaxy. They have been doing this for years, moving from system to system. How many worlds? Admiral Yoon asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know. We estimate over 300 planets have been completely consumed. The Vorthak have been converting the life energy into new ships and more of their creatures. Admiral Yoon felt anger building inside him. While the galactic government had been holding meetings and writing reports, these parasites had been eating entire civilizations. What about military responses? Did no one fight back? They tried, sir, Captain Ko said sadly. But the Vorthak learned from each battle. They adapted their tactics and weapons. By the time they reached more advanced worlds, they were ready for any defense. Any defense except ours, Admiral Yoon noted. Yes, sir. They never encountered kinetic weapons or electromagnetic warfare before fighting us. Admiral Yoon activated the fleet communication system. All ship commanders report to your battle stations. We have work to do. Over the next few days, human fleets spread out across the galaxy like hunting wolves. Each fleet was small but deadly, equipped with the weapons and tactics that had proven effective against the Vorthak. Colonel Youngmin Seo led the liberation of the industrial world Proxima 7. His battle group arrived to find the planet covered In Vorthak biostructures, but the orbital defenses were still fighting. Sir, we have survivors in the underground cities, reported Major Heejin Park. But the Vorthak are trying to drain the entire planet. Not on my watch, Colonel Seo replied. Begin orbital bombardment of all Vorthak structures. Use the nuclear missiles. The human ships rained destruction on the alien biostructures covering the planet. Each explosion sent green fluid and pieces of living metal flying into space. The Vorthak had never faced this kind of direct attack on their breeding facilities. Sir, the Vorthak ships are launching from the planet's surface, Major Park reported. Looks like about 40 vessels. Good, Colonel Seo said. Let them come to us. The battle above Proxima 7 lasted 3 hours. The human ships used hit-and-run tactics, never staying in one place long enough for the Vorthak to coordinate an attack. By the end, all Vorthak forces had been destroyed. Sir, we are receiving communications from the planet, reported Communications Officer Jinwoo Park. The survivors are asking how we defeated the Vorthak so easily. Tell them that humans do not give up, Colonel Seo replied. And we do not let parasites eat our galaxy. Meanwhile, Major Sun Hee Lim was conducting deep reconnaissance in the Galactic Core region. Her small stealth ship had been monitoring Vorthak movements for weeks. What she discovered made her immediately contact Earth Command. Admiral Yoon, this is Major Lim with an emergency report, she transmitted through encrypted channels. The Vorthak are heading for the core worlds, but not to attack them. They are after something else. What do you mean, Major? Sir, they are moving toward the ancient architect ruins on Nexus Prime. Our intelligence suggests they want to consume the technology that keeps galactic civilization running. Admiral Yoon felt his heart skip a beat. The architect ruins contained the master computers that controlled faster-than-light travel, planetary defense systems, and interstellar communications for the entire galaxy. If the Vorthak consumed that technology, every advanced world would be defenseless. Major, how long do we have? Based on their current speed, they will reach Nexus Prime in 6 months, sir. But that is not the worst part. There is something worse? Yes, sir. They are not just traveling there. They are gathering. Every Vorthak force in the galaxy is converging on the core region. We estimate over 10,000 ships. Admiral Yoon closed his eyes and thought about what this meant. 10,000 ships full of life-draining parasites all heading for the heart of galactic civilization. If they succeeded, every species in the galaxy would be consumed. Major Lim, continue monitoring and report any changes. I need to contact the Galactic Council immediately. The emergency session of the Galactic Council took place 3 days later. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered on Nexus Prime, all demanding answers about the human military capabilities they had witnessed. Ambassador Chaewon Park stood before the council, representing Earth. She was a small woman who spoke quietly, but every being in the chamber listened to her words. Honorable representatives, she began, we understand your concerns about human military actions, but we face a threat that could end all life in the galaxy. Council leader Zarthon of the Altair Collective spoke first. Ambassador Park, humans have violated 17 galactic treaties with their weapons and tactics. Your people use forbidden kinetic weapons and nuclear devices. Those treaties assume the survival of galactic civilization. Ambassador Park replied calmly. When species-ending threats appear, some rules must be broken. But how did your people develop such advanced military capabilities? Asked Representative Volnara of the Vegan Federation. Your species only achieved faster-than-light travel 200 years ago. Ambassador Park looked around the chamber at all the alien faces, staring at her. Some looked curious, others looked afraid. All of them were beginning to understand that they had never really known humanity at all. Representatives, since the day we achieved interstellar travel, humanity has been preparing for threats like the Vorthak. We have identified and planned responses to 847 different extinction-level scenarios. The chamber fell silent. Even the translator devices seemed to pause. 847 scenarios? Council leader Zarthon repeated. That is correct. Alien invasions, rogue artificial intelligences, stellar engineering disasters, reality-warping entities, and many others. The Vorthak invasion was Scenario 23. Representative Volnara looked shocked. You have been planning for our destruction? No, Ambassador Park said firmly. We have been planning to prevent the destruction of all life in the galaxy, including your species. She activated a holographic display showing the Vorthak fleet movements toward Nexus Prime. In 6 months, 10,000 Vorthak ships will arrive at this world. They want to consume the architect technology. If they succeed, every advanced world in the galaxy will lose its defenses. Then they will eat every living thing they can find. Representatives began talking among themselves in worried voices. Finally, Council Leader Zarthon spoke for all of them. Ambassador Park, what do humans propose to do about this threat? Ambassador Park smiled, but it was not a happy expression. It was the smile of a predator that had found its prey. We propose to do what humans have always done when faced with species-ending threats, she said. We propose to eliminate them completely.